following program was paid for by federal national funding. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the staff, management, and advertisers of WMTR. It is always advisable to consult a professional before making a major life or financial decision. Welcome to WMTR's Sound Advice. It's 65th hour, Mondays from 7:30 till 8:30, right here on WMTR. And here's your host, Theodore Tracey.
You are listening to the 65th hour, Mondays with Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. Welcome to my live show every Monday, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m., right here on WMTR 1250 AM. Today, my friends, once again, I would like to introduce myself to you and why I am so passionate and on fire to share with you this critical and valuable information about the next stage of your vibrant years and how we together can maximize them by you having the right information and knowledge to make the most enlightened and educated decision concerning the next journey in your life. Over the next several weeks, we will be discussing a number of very valuable and beneficial topics to help ease your stress relating to health and financial issues by having the best sources and information available to you on each of these topics. We will also open up a Q&A where people can call in. Then we will choose the best of these questions to help benefit and educate you on all of these concerns in each of these categories. We welcome you to also email us at info@federalnationalfunding.com to tell your story and ask questions and concerns. Ladies and gentlemen, the lines are open. Please call in. That number to call in, 973-267-9687. Once again, we welcome your calls. That call-in number, 973-267-9687. My friends listening here tonight, my name is Theodore Tracey, and I am Senior Vice President and Managing Partner of Federal National Funding. I have been in the medical, health, and financial industry for over 20 years. I have an extensive range of experiences which my practice focuses on, such as helping families deal with financial burdens when one enters a nursing home or assisted living facility. I also will be covering subjects such as Medicare, financial issues and temporary care, advising clients on final stage planning, also crisis Medicaid Long Term Care services, long-term care insurance, veteran benefit entitlements. Then, my friends, we take it all the way to real estate finance, property casualty insurance, and life insurance. It doesn't stop there, my friends. My passion for what I do is what gets me up in the morning. I have also been conducting educational workshops concerning senior veterans benefits, Medicare temporary care, and Medicaid long-term care. One of my passion, my friends, is to educate our senior community and all of you about government benefit issues when a family member has a need for long-term care. Now more than ever, this information needs to be shared with all of you. Due to the extensive amount of changes that are occurring right before our eyes concerning all these matters, and even more important, where all your children, friends, and family need to be more aware to prepare properly for the next stage for their loved one's life, even including their own. There is a lot involved to all of this in the early stages before it becomes staggering and very stressful. Now, that is why I'm here to talk to all of you tonight, so we can follow up face to face, sit down individually, so I can go over with each one of you to go over in detail everything you need to be comfortable with moving forward. This is my goal for all of you and everyone you know in your life. Tonight's topic will be Medicaid Long Term Care. In the following weeks, we will discuss other topics such as little-known benefits for veterans, final stage planning, home, car, mortgage, life insurance, Social Security options, senior placement, relocation, senior independence, nursing care at home, and so much more. My friends, I would like now to really dig into our topic for this evening, which is Medicaid long-term care. I would now like to introduce you to my producer, Miss Diane Wesley. The lines are open. Diane, how are you doing this evening?
I am beyond fantabulous. And even though Labor Day weekend is over, to be able to dig into what we're doing is so amazing, because every week we get to help and educate and open up discussions and opportunities for them to really know all their options and not just always feel like in fear. And I think this week, Theodore, I think the biggest problem is Medicaid is delicate and people don't know what they are absolutely entitled to. They question everything. They think it's, they're locked in a box. And I'm so glad you're going to explain all this to them, because they really need to understand how all this works into their life, in their situation. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely a pleasure to be with you, all of you, once again. I definitely want to take the opportunity to thank our veterans. It's very important that we acknowledge our senior veterans for they have served us. Definitely want to thank you once again for listening to us. The topic for this evening, Medicaid long-term care. I think first and foremost, we need to establish a premise of what long-term care is first. What long-term care is any chronic or disabling condition that requires one to need assistance by way either of home health aid, assisted living facility, or nursing home. The fact of the matter is, which we have discussed in depth, is people are living longer, which is positive. Right now, there is currently about 40 million Americans over the age of 65. It is projected by the year 2040 that there will be 80 million Americans over the age of 65.
That's staggering.
Absolutely. And the most important factor is 75% of that number will require some kind of long-term care assistance. 75%. 50% of that number will require a minimum of 1 year of assistance.
Wow.
Okay. 20% will require 5 years. And remember, we had discussed the average price right now for a nursing home is anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 a month. So in essence, if you're looking at 5 years worth of care, you're looking over exceeding $600,000.
Not too many people have that in their back pocket.
Not too many people, definitely. Not too many people have that type of money. And even take it a little step further, not too many people are generating that income to accommodate those type of expenses. And as I said before, the national average in a nursing home in the state of New Jersey is roughly about $330 per day. A home health aid, that can cost you anywhere from $19 to $38 per hour. Okay, so these costs are very, very staggering. The assisted living cost right now can run you anywhere from $3,900 to $5,000 a month, depending on, and that's just room and board, not taking into consideration if the patient will require some type of prescriptions or additional medical assistance. So we want to stress the fact that these costs can be overwhelming. And as we discussed in previous shows, everyone right now, in my experience, are focused on putting away for retirement, accumulating savings, investments, 401k, IRA accounts, with the primary focus of establishing a substantial nest egg for their retirement years. And of course, without question, this is very important. But what I find in my experience, there are three major purchases that one actually occurs in their lifetime. Number one is to buy their primary home, their primary residence. Okay, that is a major, major focus. Number two is college education for one's children. That is a major, major cost. Okay, and number three is long-term care, retirement. Everyone focuses on retirement. It's very seldom that people try to plan for long-term care, because the fact of the matter is, a long-term care expense can be devastating to a retirement account. If one has a cost of $600,000 or $100,000 per year, it's very seldom that we have Social Security. Social Security does not provide that monthly income.
No,
okay.
It absolutely does not.
No, it does not. It is very seldom in my experience that pensions, even the greatest of pensions, do not generate or pay out a monthly income of $10,000 to $12,000 per month. Okay?
So now, are you saying that there is a way to not feel like you're so overwhelmed with all these bills, all these expenses, when we know we're not generating that much per month to be able to take care of ourselves in our later years, or even the family taking care of us? So you have ways, if they sat down with you and you were able to lay out everything that's involved here to make it easy and digestible for all that's coming in the next stage of their life?
Absolutely, without question. I often say to clients that the objective is to pre-plan. You do not want to wait until you are in crisis mode, because when you are in crisis mode, your options are very, very limited. And I'd like to get into the different methods of paying for these long-term care expenses. There are three methods to handle these costs. Number one, that is what we call private pay. Private pay is the most expensive method of paying for long-term care.
And why is that?
Well, because of the fact is you're coming directly out of your pocket.
Okay.
Okay. You're not getting any discount.
Okay.
All right. You're taking the brunt of all the expense yourself, whether it be your family members, whether it be your retirement accounts, whether it be your savings accounts, whether it be your children's assistance. You are responsible, and it is the most expensive method. Okay? Number two is long-term care insurance. Now, I often say, number one, you want to make sure you establish a long-term care insurance when you're reasonably young, anywhere between age 40 to age 50, whereas it's not overwhelming as far as cost. Because the truth of the matter is, long-term care is not inexpensive. It is expensive. But the purpose of long-term care is insuring your assets. So similar to that when you're insuring your car, similar to that when you are insuring your home against it burning or things of that nature, you're doing the same thing with long-term care insurance. You are insuring the fact that if you require long-term care services, you are not coming out of pocket, but you are establishing an insurance program to pick up those costs. And the truth of the matter is, long-term care, the primary purpose of long-term care insurance is to delay one's entrance into a nursing facility. And it's not a question. I'm stating this to you as a fact. I'm coming across, I'm speaking to a lot of seniors, and the number one preface that each senior shares with me is that they want to maintain their independence, staying in their home for as long as possible. And that is the one main factor with long-term care insurance. It allows one to maintain their residence before prematurely having to enter a nursing home facility?
There's a question through an email, and for those who just tuned in, you're listening to WMTR 1250 AM, and you can call in. We are live right now. You can call in at 973-267-9687, and we are here. This is the 65th hour with Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. Now, there's a question from an emailer, and I think this is going to really reach a lot of people's hearts, saying, if I go in a nursing home, can the nursing home take my house?
Well, that is a very common question, and there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to that. Number one, when it comes to the Medicaid eligibility, or when dealing with a nursing home, if the state, which is the Medicaid program, pays out on behalf of a patient a substantial amount of money, over time, they will establish what they call a TEFRA lien. Now, the TEFRA lien is similar to that of any type of lien, whether it be a mechanic's lien or it may be a mortgage lien. It would allow that person to recoup the funds. So in essence here, the TEFRA lien, once that is put on a property, it allows the state to recover the money that they have paid out on that individual patient. So the fact of the matter is, number one, the primary residence, to all our listeners, is not calculated immediately when it comes to Medicaid eligibility. So initially, the house is protected. Okay?
Okay.
But what the fact of the matter is, when the state actually comes out of pocket and pays on behalf of the patient, they can attach a lien, which I mentioned, this TEFRA lien. So in essence, what we want to do is protect the home.
Okay.
They cannot take the home initially. But if Medicaid is coming out of pocket on their behalf in terms of the patient, one would need to take the necessary steps to protect the residents. So in essence, so they would not allow, but the nursing home cannot take your home. It is really the state that would attach to what they call a TEFRA lien. And one thing I'd like to get into, and thank you, caller, for that email question. It is a very common question, but what I'd like to touch base on is the third method that one pays for long-term care services. Now, this third method is by way of government assistance. And when I'm speaking about government assistance, is when the government provides payment to the nursing home for home care services from two sources. Those two government sources is Medicare and Medicaid. And I'm just going to briefly touch on this. Medicare, there's a lot of misconceptions. Medicare does not pay fully for long-term care services. It only establishes temporary care for the first 100 days. Just to give you an example, under the Medicaid Part A, which covers the inpatient hospital stay, the first 20 days is at no charge to the patient.
Okay.
For days 21 through 100, the patient would be responsible for a copay. A copay in the amount of $167.50 per day. You may say that's a lot of money. It's all relative. Because if you're being charged $1,000, $2,000, if you're paying $167.50 per day, I would sure you would consider that to be very, very reasonable, because I would.
I agree with you.
Yes. Medicare, as we said, is a federal insurance program for people aged 65 and up. It does not cover long-term care in a very long period of time. It's just temporarily. The primary care, which a lot of misconceptions right now, Medicaid Long Term Care, and there are two types of Medicaid programs. Okay, Medicaid, first, to establish a definition for our listeners, is a program that's shared between the state and the federal government. Okay, it is governed and controlled by the state. Okay, but it is a shared program. They have two types of Medicaid. They have one that has, for the limited income, the very, very limited income. Also, those that are disabled. That is the Medicaid insurance, the medical insurance, where you people that have very, very limited income or they're disabled. But they also have, and there's a lot of misconceptions here, because a lot of people, when they speak about Medicaid, oh, I don't want to talk about Medicaid, or I feel as though it's less, I'm less of a person. Listen, let us stop that misconception. Let us stop our false understanding of what our federal government programs, which are set up for us, okay? And that's why I'm here tonight, to really break down, and so our audience has a full understanding of what these federal programs actually cover.
Well, we have another emailer that I think this is a really good question as well. And for those who are listening right now, just tuned in, you are listening to the 65th Hour with Theodore Tracey, the voice for Senior Solutions. And you can reach him at his office if you have any more questions or you'd like to set up a time to sit down and go over these questions, because this is delicate information. But each week when we talk about a different topic, have your questions ready, and he will answer all of them when you sit down in person or talk to him over the phone. The office number you can reach him at is 201-342-3300, or just like people are now emailing, info@federalnationalfunding.com. If you'd like to call in, callers, we are live, and we'd love to hear any questions you have in this 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. every Monday night right here on WMTR 1250 AM, 973-267-9687. And Theo, here's the next question. Will Medicaid cover costs in an assisted living facility?
Okay, very good question. The fact of the matter is, Medicaid will not cover all assisted living costs. The facility itself needs to be Medicaid approved. The rule of thumb is that the requirement is 10% of the assisted living facilities have to maintain enough beds for Medicaid patients. So unless that facility is Medicaid approved, one cannot utilize the Medicaid program in terms of paying for that. But, as I said before, it is required that each assisted living facility in the state of New Jersey maintain 10% of their beds solely for Medicaid patients.
Hallelujah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And once again, in order to really touch on what the various types of Medicaid, we have the Medicaid, which is the general insurance for those that have very, very low income and that are disabled. And then we have this second Medicaid Long Term Care program, which a lot of people are not aware of, which the fact of the matter is Medicaid Long Term Care pays for 75% of the nursing costs in this country are paid through Medicaid long-term care.
Now, I did not know that.
You can actually have a net worth of $1 million and still qualify for Medicaid long-term care.
Explain that one to everyone, please.
Well, everybody's under the assumption that one has to be impoverished to establish eligibility for Medicaid. Yes, it's true in a certain sense. It's really dependent upon whether the individual is single or they are married. That really determines what the resources that one might be able to have in order to qualify for Medicaid. You know, the fact of the matter is long-term care Medicaid is a public partnership with rules to balance the cost of care between the patient and the state. And what I mean by that is it's a balance. The patient has what they call a copay, similar to like when you have your prescription costs. The patient is required for a copay, and then the balance is shared with the state through the Medicaid program. They pay for the cost. So that's what we're doing. Ideology, we're actually shifting the burden from the patient's family to the Medicaid program.
Now, here was another question that came in. Will Medicare cover my costs in a nursing home?
Absolutely. The question is Medicare, would Medicare cover? Yes, it does. As I said before, the first 100 days is paid for by under Medicare Part A. The first 20 days is at no cost to the patient. For days 21 through 100, the patient will be responsible for a copay of $167.50. So there's a lot of misconceptions. That stay or that coverage through the Medicare Part A is triggered by what they call a 3-day stay in the hospital. I often say to clients or people I come in contact with, if God forbid their loved one's family member slips and falls, has a stroke, has a heart attack, things of that nature, sometimes the option may be to directly put them from the home, from the primary residence, to the nursing facility. I do not recommend that. I recommend that you first go into the hospital first. The reason why I say that is you want to exhaust that 3-day stay and utilize that Medicare Part A coverage, because you're losing a substantial amount of money, maybe $5,000, $6,000 through that, that Medicare Part A is covering. So I often say to pay clients and so forth, take advantage of the Part A. Allow that 3-day stay in the hospital to trigger that Part A and allow us to take that 100-day coverage. And also by doing that, in addition to the discount, but it's also allowing you time, 3 months, that if you did not do your proper planning, it's giving you 3 months to plan. That's a different perspective.
Now that's powerful, and I'm sure our listeners, please take notes. And also, if you just tuned in here tonight, you're listening to the 65th Hour with Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. We are here at WMTR 1250 AM, 973-267-9687. It's live. Please feel free to call in. Let us know your concerns. And if you want to reach Theo at the office for more information for a sit-down or a call, just so you know, you can call at 201-342-3300, or, as many are doing and now emailing on a regular basis, info@federalnationalfunding.com. You know what I think's wonderful, Theo? You were telling me the story about the woman that called in just to say what a great job you've been doing. And I think that's wonderful. If anybody has anything they want to say or comment, it doesn't matter how old somebody is. You could be the son or daughter. And we are going to take a break, so we will be back shortly for our second half. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and just worry about the next phase of your life? Well, worry no more. At Federal National Funding, we are a group of top professional elder care advisors here to meet all of your financial and insurance needs, such as paying your bills, Medicare options turning 65, caretaking for seniors, little-known benefits for senior veterans, home, car, mortgage, and life insurance needs, Medicaid planning, final stage planning for you and your loved ones, and so much more. At FNF, we are not a government agency, but we do specialize in government programs. If you are interested to learn more about how we can help and educate you, please call now for your free face-to-face consultation at 201-342-3300. To tell your story, visit our online website at federalnationalfunding.com. At Federal National Funding, where your interest is our priority. That's 201-342-3300.
Get your car ready for some hot summer fun with the cool specials at Convent Shell in Morristown. Bring in your car for its scheduled maintenance and get 10% off. And for a limited time, Convent Shell is offering an oil change and 20-point safety check for just $34.99. All makes of batteries are checked free. How about a coolant check? That's also free. Wheel alignments are only $89.99. Convenshell is a AAA repair shop and, of course, has the latest industry equipment for both foreign and domestic cars. Convenshell is also a New Jersey inspection station and certified emission repair facility. And best of all, the gas pumps are open 24/7. Head into Convenshell at 192 Madison Avenue in Morristown, where they have specialized in satisfying customers for over 21 years. Convenshell. Get a fuel injection cleaning for gasoline and diesel engines for just $99 at Convenshell. Regular price $125. Or bring your AAA card to Convenshell and save 10% off any service.
Did you know that about 80% of college students change their majors at least once? Instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars trying to make a decision at a high tuition four-year university, consider New Jersey's outstanding community colleges. Community colleges offer a top-notch education at an affordable price. Community colleges offer flexible schedules, smaller class sizes, qualified professors and support staff, extracurricular activities, and athletics. Explore a wide range of majors and career options. Earn college credits while deciding the best career route for you. So start college the smart way. Save money and time while getting a solid education at New Jersey's 19 community colleges. To learn more, visit njea.org/higher ed. The members of the New Jersey Education Association are making public schools and community colleges great for every student.
This message is sponsored by the New Jersey Education Association, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Broadcasting live from the Hilltop Nissan Studios. Classic Oldies, WMTR Morristown, a Beasley Media Group station.
For those of you who have just tuned in, you are listening to the 65th Hour, Mondays with Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. Every Monday night, right here on WMTR 1250 AM from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. The lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. I would like you to call in. That is why I'm here. We welcome your calls and questions. I'm here for you. That number to call in, 973-267-9687. That number again, 973-267-9687. 87. Thank you for joining us. Once again, our topic for this evening is Medicaid Long Term Care. We were talking about the various methods of paying for long-term care services. We went over three sources, one being private pay, the other one being long-term care insurance, and the final one being government assistance. And we have two forms of government assistance, one being Medicare, which is the health insurance for people age 65 and over. And then we have the Medicaid Long-Term Care. And then we also have the Medicaid General Insurance. Now, the General Insurance are for those that are very, very, very limited income and that have some type of disability. But then, which is not a common program that is familiar to all of our listeners, is the Medicaid Long-Term Care program. And this is coverage for nursing home patients, some home care, and some assisted living residents. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions concerning this Medicaid Long-Term Care. As I said before, 75% of the nursing costs in this country is paid through the Medicaid Long-Term Care program. It has a very complicated asset and income rule, but it does allow for certain categories of assets to be considered protected, while others are exposed. Some of the assets that are considered protected, just for you know, is the primary residence. Initially, the primary residence is protected when applying for Medicaid. Also, that being said, the first car is also considered protected. If you have two cars, then again, that value will be, that car cash value of the second vehicle will be considered in the Medicaid eligibility. But the first car is protected as well as the primary residence is protected. Also, if you have personal belongings, whether it be paintings, clothing, furniture, things of that nature, that is also protected. But what I try to share with clients is assets can be shifted from the unprotected status to the protected status. And that's where someone like myself comes into play. Because the fact of the matter is, we want to shelter as much of the assets and the income so one can be determined Medicaid approved. Okay? The amount of assets and income that can be protected depends greatly on if the patient is single or married. Some of the assets they allow you to keep, and some of the assets they require you to spend. And I'm sure our listeners have heard of this Medicaid spend down. And what the Medicaid spend down is that you are reducing your assets by way of gifting, by way of spending, buying numerous things in order to reduce your assets to, for single people, single individuals is below $2,000. If you are married, and remember I said to you, the eligibility is greatly determined if the individual is single or if that person is married. If that individual is married, they have what they call a community spouse resource allocation. And for this year, 2018, that allocation is $123,600. Okay? So, which is sizable. But once again, certain things have to be in place. And, it is complicated, but that is where someone like myself comes into play, where I sit down with you, assess your particular situation, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. Okay? There are different strategies that may be suitable for your particular situation, but may not be suitable for someone else's. So that is where we would have to sit down, assess your particular situation, and us together determine which avenue would be the best method to achieve Medicaid eligibility, to reduce your exposure, and also assist your family to pay for these high costs. Because as I said again, $330 a day, that's $10,000 per month.
Most people do not have that, Theo.
Most people do not have that. The Social Security income, they're not generating that. Social Security is not paying that. The greatest of pensions is not paying that. And then the fact of the matter is, if we do not accommodate the income necessary to pay for those expenses, what are we forced to do? We're forced to access our retirement accounts. We are forced to access our checking, our savings. The same checking, savings, and retirement accounts that we have diligently over the years have put away to establish a nice, comfortable retirement nest egg for our, so we can enjoy and relax on the beach and travel with our family and things of that nature. Because that is our focus. But the fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, long-term care expenses can devastate our retirement assets in a matter of a year. And the fact of the matter is, what we have to do is the same diligence and the same caution and prudent behavior that we have taken to set aside and plan to put away for our retirement. We need to take that same initiative and same energy and same prudence to properly pre-plan, God forbid, if a crisis hits our home where our loved one either has a stroke, has a bout with dementia, has a bout with Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a very serious cause or a serious illness that is very common among seniors right now. Is one of the leading causes of death is Alzheimer's, which is a brain disease and technically an irreversible brain disease where the neurofibrillary entanglement causes the one not to remember things. The neurons are dying off, because a lot of misconceptions when it comes to that Alzheimer's disease. Everybody looks at it as a sign of weakness or deterioration of the individual. That is not the case. The fact of the matter is, it is a brain disease. Okay, whereas the neurons are not communicating with one another, and then as a result of that, we are losing our memory loss. But that is a number one care. One cause why individuals are being forced to go into a nursing facility, because the truth of the matter is, 9 times out of 10, the family members are not equipped to handle the magnitude of that type of care. Because when you're stepping in that arena, you're needing constant supervision. So unless you're not working, okay, then you maybe can afford to look after your loved ones. But, in my experience, it's not common, whereas someone has the time to really focus or give that type of care that one requires in terms of that constant supervision. So that's where we want to do some type of pre-planning, because when we wait until something like a stroke happens, something like one slips and falls and breaks their hips. And listeners, you know what I'm talking about. We all have family members there where we've all had friends where we've heard where they've fallen, they've broken their hip, they're having to do hip replacement, they're having to do rehab, costly, things of that nature. We all have friends and family members that have gone through these types of things. So my point to you is we do not want to wait until this type of occurrence happens in our lives, because then are what we call crisis mode, and our options are very limited.
Is this why you say get the long-term care earlier when you're in your 40s and 50s? Because we never know what's going to happen day to day. And a 40 or 50-year-old woman or man could also fall, have all kinds of problems. There's more heart attacks, am I right? There's been so many more. And for those,
Absolutely.
For those who just tuned in, we're getting into real depth, because Theodore is a true expert in this field. And if you want to reach him and reach out and lay out a whole slew of questions for him that he can go over, he can really help you in all of these matters. You can call the office at 201-342-3300 or email him at info@federalnationalfunding.com. You are listening to WMTR 1250 AM, 973-267-9687. We are live here, ladies and gentlemen. You can call in anytime. Email us those questions. And each week, we want to try to get through as many questions as we can. It's 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. every Monday right here at WMTR. Now, Theo, I think this goes with what you've just been talking about. They're saying if they do have an IRA, can they get approved for Medicaid, or do they take that away as well?
Well, the majority of assets are actually put into a retirement account and IRA account. The IRA account is considered a countable asset. So we would have to take some type of approach in terms of certain strategies to protect that IRA, because the fact of the matter that IRA is countable, and 9 times out of 10, they would want you to spend it down. So depending on the particular circumstance, when I'm sitting with an individual, we want to assess the situation, look at everything, and see how we can incorporate the IRA into a strategic plan to help one qualify for Medicaid. But yes, it is possible, to answer your question.
So that's something you can help them with if they sit down with you or talk to you over the phone.
Absolutely. I welcome to sit down with the person, with them, their family members, because it's not something where an individual or a family member wants to take it upon themselves. They want to consult with because it's a family decision. This is not something where you're going to buy a sofa or something of that. This is a major, major expense. This is something where you want to get together with your family members, sit down, come to make a sound decision, and meet with someone like myself someone that can lead you in the right direction to maneuver through this maze, through this complicated maze of this federal programs, because that's what it is. When you're dealing with the senior veterans benefits and you're dealing with the Medicaid and Medicare, these are complicated programs that if one does not know how to travel and maneuver through these mazes, you can, be open to and susceptible to problems, or not really taking the full benefit of some of these entitlements that you would be entitled to.
And you're saying there's a lot of entitlements that most people don't know about.
Absolutely, absolutely. We make it a point where we are senior. I take pride in educating our senior community. I do, go out into the community, conduct educational workshops, allow one to be familiar with some of these programs that would allow them discounts, allow them to save money, protect their assets. And the fact of the matter thing, when I'm speaking to a lot of people are not so much excited about pursuing eligibility concerning Medicaid. But let me tell you something. The question I would like to ask you, when you're sitting down with your CPA, okay, and your CPA suggests to you that you take a certain exemption in order to save some money on your taxes, would you be considered not wise to take that exemption? Of course, you would be considered foolish if you would not take that exemption. So we're doing the same thing here. There are certain exemptions through the Medicaid program that allows one to protect their assets and not leave the family impoverished or the healthy spouse impoverished. It is no different than your certified public accountant recommending that you take a certain exemption to save money on taxes, or take this tax deduction here, or, write off the interest off your mortgage that you're paying, or your medical expenses, or your uniform that you're utilizing for your employment, things of that nature. It is no different. These are guidelines and regulations that have been set up by Congress and are often encouraged. And the reason why they're encouraged, which I know a lot of you are not familiar with, but I'm trying to explain it to you. The reason why these rules are encouraged is because Congress does not want to leave, when dealing with a married couple, does not want to leave the healthy spouse impoverished. So these guidelines and rules were set up primarily so the healthy spouse is not left impoverished in the home.
Now, what about the individual in the same situation? If it is an individual...
Same situation with the individual. With the individual, it's a little bit different because of the fact that because they're not married, there's no one that they're leaving at the residence to become impoverished. So what we're doing here is we're trying to safeguard the assets and protect the assets in case that individual actually recovers and comes back to the home so they are not impoverished. So it's a little bit different. It's much harder for a single individual to get approved for Medicaid than a married individual, but as I said, there are certain strategies that we would implement one to utilize to become Medicaid approved. And what I'd like to go over, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, for those of you that have just tuned in, you are listening to the 65th Hour with me, Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. I welcome all of you to call in. The lines are open. I am here. I know you have questions. I'm getting your emails. I'm getting the feedback from you. Our number to call in, 973-267-9687. And I honestly welcome you to call in. I'm listening for your questions, and I'm encouraged by your feedback. Very much so. I would like to touch on what is Medicaid planning, because there is a lot of misconceptions with what Medicaid planning is. Ladies and gentlemen, Medicaid planning is when we assist a patient or a future patient to use the existing laws and financial tools available to qualify for assistance with the cost of their long-term care expenses from the federal Medicaid program. There is an additional goal of passing as much wealth to the heirs of the family and not having assets recaptured by the state. Let me touch on that a little bit very briefly. Once I said to you, if the state does pay out on behalf of the individual, the state will come back and try to recover if there are assets remaining in the family. So what we want to do is we want to shift that burden legally and ethically. Okay, it's because there's no such thing, and I want to bring this to you, there's no such thing as, per se, in terms of hiding assets. You're not hiding assets. What we're doing, we're utilizing the regulations that have been set up by Congress through the Medicaid program and using these laws and regulations in addition to the financial tools to reestablish and shift the burden from the family to the state program through the Medicaid program. And the objective is achieved by restructuring a client's assets to comply with the eligibility requirements. As I said before, the eligibility very, very complicated. The system is very, very complicated. It's not something you can walk through yourself.
So that would be something where they sit down with you.
Absolutely.
And they have a chance to, you know what, and maybe if, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to set up a time with Theo, you can call him at 201-342-3300 or email info@federalnationalfunding.com. You are listening to WMTR 1250 AM with Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. Please call in. We welcome you. 973-267-9687. We are here every Monday, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Now, here's another major question. Will Medicaid cover, this I think is a really good one from the email that came in. Will Medicaid cover nursing care at home?
Yes. They do have a program that does cover nursing care at home. That program is called the MLTSS. That acronym stands for Managed Long Term Support Services. Okay, that is a home-based program which allows one to receive assistance while they're at home. Okay, and it's often utilized by the family because, as I said before, in my experience, everyone wants to maintain that independence for as long as possible. They want to maintain the stay in their residence for as long as possible. They don't want to go into a nursing home. Although there's a lot of misconceptions, and yes, I've heard them all. But the fact of the matter is everyone wants to stay with their families for as long as possible. And I'm sure the family members want the same as well. So that program called the MLTSS program is a home-based Medicaid program that allows the individuals to stay in their home and receive care. Once again, it does delay possible entrance into a nursing home, and that is the benefit of the long-term care insurance. A lot of misconceptions about that. The long-term care insurance, for those that are looking into it, it is something that could be utilized to allow you to maintain that independence in your home for as long as possible before you would require that very extensive care through a nursing facility. But very good question. I thank you very much for your email. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please call in. The lines are open. I welcome your question. I'm encouraged by your questions. That call-in number, if you do not know it already, 973-267-9687. Once again, that's 973-267-9687. I would just like to touch a little bit more on this Medicaid program. The fact of the matter is some assets are protected, and that is the basis of all Medicaid planning, is to protect the assets. That is the primary objective, is to protect the assets and allow one to get assistance through government programs to help pay for this highly costly expense. $10,000 to $12,000. I don't know how you call it, but I think that is super, super expensive. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the principle on the Medicaid planning is the proper conversion of unprotected assets into protected assets. The main objective is we want to protect the assets. So if an asset is not protected, the primary objective through my assistance would be to reposition that asset as an unprotected asset to a protected asset. And the reason being is to shift the burden from the family to the Medicaid government program. And what it is, the fact of the matter is, most Medicaid plans, what we do is we utilize a mixture of legal and financial services to achieve that eligibility. So it's a combination. It's your attorney, which we have attorneys that we work with, because sometimes it may be necessary to establish trust, and there are different types of trust. And believe me, we are going to cover this more so in depth in the future, because there is a lot to this. It's not something we can go over and cover it in just one program. It's something that we're going to have to touch on, which we will be touching on in future shows to come. But the fact of the matter is, it is very extensive. It is a very complicated process. It is not an easy process. It's not 1, 2, 3. The process in terms of being approved is very time consuming. Number one, it depends on the workload of the state. I was just very interested. I was just in Passaic County, and I met the young lady there in terms of, and I was asking her, what time period we're looking in terms of processing the claim. And you know what she shared with me? The county of Passaic has a very limited amount of people handling the files. So don't be deterred or upset if you find that the process is taking longer than what you had expected, because the workload that these state employees have is overwhelming. The process is overwhelming, and it is time consuming. So I just want to preface that in saying that do not expect it to be a 1, 2, 3 process. It's a long process. It really depends on the workload of the state, but it is, in all realistic levels, worth the while, without question. Without question. The longer that a client waits, as I said, in regards to their planning, the fewer choices that they have in terms of accommodating or being able to utilize the appropriate strategies to help them pay for the cost. And once again, just to reiterate, and in closing, because I know we're getting ready to wrap it up this evening.
Yes, we are, Theo. And just so you know, we are live here every Monday night, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. You are listening to Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. WMTR 1250 AM. Please feel free anytime with any of the questions each week with any of the topics. We want to get back to you. And you can absolutely call in 973-267-9687. Theo's office, 201-342-3300. And Theo.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure speaking with all of you this evening. You have tuned in to the 65th hour with Theodore Tracey, the voice for senior solutions. Every Monday night right here on WMTR 1250 AM, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Our next topic next week will be final stage planning. I welcome all the listeners to once again listen in, tune in. Once again, it's always a pleasure. I very much enjoy speaking to all of you, and definitely welcome your questions and concerns. And each week we will be having some industry experts also that we're able to shed light. We'll be sharing that with you as well. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, till next week, my friends, stay strong, healthy, happy, and well informed. Till next week, have a fantastic evening.